If you don't know how to quit addiction from opioids or alcohol, I'm going to talk about the method that is going to minimize withdrawal, avoid relapse, and protect you from overdose. I call it protocol saving lives. We're going to go through how to avoid withdrawal, how to not relapse, and how to not overdose. So let's begin. There is a lot of methods to manage your withdrawal when you decide to go through the detox. The best is buprenorphine as a patch. And the reason for that is because buprenorphine is half antagonist, which means it doesn't stimulate your opioid receptors. What it does actually block them a little bit. So you cannot get high, you cannot get euphoria. It's not strong enough to get you high and dependent, but it's strong enough to manage your withdrawal, which actually makes smooth transition from opioids or alcohol to the point where actually you are clean and ready for recovery. It cannot be buprenorphine in the form of injection or pills because it will take you through waves. It's not going to be consistent. Only patch will be consistent, and only patch is very easy to taper it down, which actually guarantee this smooth transition. I wouldn't recommend anything else. Once you get clean, there is a chance that you may relapse and keep relapsing for the next 7 years. The chemistry of brain is changed, and it takes up to 7 years to bring it back where it was. What is this relapse? Why this relapse is caused? Basically, it's physical dependence. There was a lot of different methods like counseling, motivation, trigger management, and support network. Unfortunately, all of them, they have combined 75 up to 85% of relapse. And the only way to prevent relapse is naltrexone. There's a few ways you can get naltrexone in your blood system. One of them is pill. Unfortunately, a lot of people, they don't fulfill their prescriptions. If they take naltrexone for a couple of days, they feel too good too quickly because it's powerful medication. They miss the dose and they relapse again over and over again. They go back again to withdrawal. Vivitrol in injection, it's a huge improvement, but still the injection wears off. The first one works 30 days and the last one only 12, 13, 14, which creates a lot of gaps when you are vulnerable and relapse is coming back again. But the best version of naltrexone right now available, it's actually implant. It gives you up to 15 months quiet time when you don't think about taking anymore, you don't think about using anymore, because what naltrexone actually does, it turns off your opioid receptors and nothing can attach to them. So thinking about substance of your choice would be like thinking about grass or broccoli. It's not gonna do anything. Even if you are going to choose something to use it, it's not gonna do anything. It's not gonna get to your receptors. You're not gonna get high. There will be no euphoria, and your brain actually starts to learn. You don't get pleasure from it, and you're gonna quit anyway. If you have a few addictions, like let's say alcohol and gambling, alcohol will be finished and gambling will be finished. So it's a compound actually effect, which is actually very good. Once you take naltrexone in the form of implant, then when you go counseling, you actually can absorb information because your mind is quiet. You're not thinking about using anymore. There is no fight in your head. There is no survival. The same motivation. Doesn't matter if you're motivated or not. When you have an naltrexone in your blood, you're not gonna use any anyway because you don't want to use anymore once you have naltrexone. Even if you use, you don't feel anything. Trigger management teaches you how you are triggered. But even if you're gonna be triggered, but you're not gonna be with naltrexone, but even if you're going to be, and if you're going to use it, it's not gonna do anything to you. So all these methods are working once you have implants. The same support network. If you go on a meeting and you learn new information, how to manage your life once you are addicted, you actually can absorb information. You stop thinking about using again or not using again. Instead, putting this all energy in fighting thoughts about addiction, you basically have a quiet mind and you are important on the things that really matter, like family, education, work, house, and all the other things that people actually put energy into. How we are protected from overdose with this naltrexone? It's basically very simple. If you don't want to use, if you don't use, basically you're not gonna overdose. But even if you're going to use, and there is no relapse because it's not gonna work. Basically, you're not gonna get high. So if you don't get high, basically you cannot overdose. So you're protected. There was a study made in Australia. 638 people was monitored before naltrexone implants. There was a 12 interventions about overdose with hospital. After naltrexone, there was zero. So it's not a reduction, it's actually elimination. So how and why it works? Basically, block receptors, no high, no euphoria, up to 90% mortality reduced, even up to 100% in some research. So how does recovery looks like with naltrexone implant? Basically, no fear because you're not afraid of withdrawal. You've got buprenorphine. You're not afraid relapse because there is no relapse when you have naltrexone, and there is no overdose because you cannot overdose. So you don't fear of these things. The brain heals because understands there is no pleasure in using again. So your brain actually chemistry start changing very quickly. So your recovery will not take 7 years, but for example, half of the time, or maybe one third. Another one, there is no cravings. If there is no cravings, basically you can live your normal life. You don't have to fight your thoughts. Basically, you can think about things that matter to you: family, your career, your job, your education, whatever is important in your life, your health, for example. If there is no cravings, there is no relapse. So you're not going to disappear for a couple of days. You're basically going to go through recovery. You're going to show up on appointments. You're going to be motivated. You're going to be counseled. And you will learn your triggers, basically. Another thing, your mental health. You will become more mentally stable because your brain will not be hijacked and will not be your thoughts are not going to be chaotic, and your thoughts, they are not going to push you to use, or for example to disappear, for example on your family or your peers for a couple of days or weeks. You become basically stable, mentally stable person, and your brain will not dictate what you want to do. You basically will take control of your life. So basically, recovery with naltrexone implant is basically no longer an addict fighting, but basically normal living person that actually goes about their own life. Naltrexone is not available everywhere, but if you text us or you just give a comment free, we're gonna let you know how you can get access to it.